Chatty. Good evening, one and all, and welcome to the Ashbury Art live stream. We're currently on our way to streaming for who knows how many days into the future. It's already been the start of February. We're 2 days into the month. You can see right here below on, well, for you all, I think it's your left. For me, it's your right, my left. You can see here you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at Ashbury Art. There's my TikTok page as well, LinkedIn. I'm trying to get to 150 followers, so I'm able to live stream on there as well. We have Facebook and Instagram too. Tonight's episode is introduction to why we need to build better website experiences, starting with the accessibility first. Basically, in our last live stream, we heard the struggles of a couple small business owners who were having issues with potential lawsuits and their websites not being able to be used by their full audience. So people that use screen readers and everything else. In tonight's stream, we are going to go ahead and start with the review of the actual website content accessibility guideline to bring everyone up to date, as well as see what builders can do for your business. Let's go ahead and get started. So, we're on the Website Accessibility Initiative, or WAI website, which is sponsored by the W3Cs. And I thought it would just be good to go ahead and walk through all their content that they have on the website. Later on this week, on Wednesday, when I'm doing my work in progress, we're going to continue with that accessibility assessment on my own website. Because if you can't critique yourself, how can you go out there and critique other people? Or I should say, suggest improvements to better their website experience. Anyways, so a summary that they provide is when websites and web tools are properly designed and coded, people with disabilities can use them. However, currently many sites, not just one, and tools are developed with accessibility barriers that make them difficult or impossible for some people to use, which is how small businesses are being caught up in this, because the government's been going since 2024 trying to update all their sites so that they're actually accessible for people to use their websites and use their apps or to file things like their taxes and everything else. And because of that push towards accessibility, of course, the Small Business Administration is a part of the government, and some of the other ones as well are trying to make sure that if we set this precedence, everyone is at least falling behind. Now, are the websites the prettiest designs? I think that's up for interpretation. However, are they effective designs where you can go in, like we've done in the past, tab through to see all the information? Be able to use a screen reader and have it say standards/guidelines and all the information? Or is it just buried down into the code of the website, basically? Next line, they say making the website accessible benefits individuals, businesses, and societies. Reiterates the point I just made. International web standards define what is needed for accessibility. And I will say, I do know in fact, because I am a part of a group of, we'll say, designers and freelancers slash developers. And there's a GDBP, and that's over in Europe. So it's not just the United States. If people are feeling, oh, I'm singled out, I'm checking on that. GPD accessibility. And this is something to keep into account if you decide to sell. I was wrong. I added an extra letter. So GDP, which stands for Gross Domestic Product, and the accessibility of GPD data itself. So that is not just over here in the United States, that's international. So if you ever think, oh, well, I want to sell this soap in a different country, yeah, you had to sit here and worry about their guidelines of things such as lie or what can be included. But also, you might want to make sure that your website actually goes through, because the last thing you want is to be fined by a foreign entity because your website doesn't meet international standards. Just saying. And y'all, if I'm a little spicy tonight, I ran in real quick from work and also was trying to scarf down some food. So I apologize. But now we can go ahead and go through the page contents. So let's get started. So accessibility and context. And they have a quote from Tim Berners-Lee, who is the W3 director and inventor of the World Wide Web. So it says the power of the web is in its universality. Access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. I'm also curious. We're going to be doing a lot of tangents here, so hold on. Is he? Huh. Oh, I keep forgetting how young the internet is sometimes. He is 70 years young and in the United Kingdom. I know, that's right. That's not something for small business owners. That's just for my little bit of interest. So the web is fundamentally designed to work for all people, whether they're software, hardware, language, location, or ability, which is kind of why I want to work with. It would be really nice if one of my first clients that I had was a small business that deals with languages, or a micro enterprise that deals with languages, because I think some of their websites, they're trying to connect and communicate with people. It's just a lot of things going on, a lot of details on the page, and streamlining that information so that people can easily book classes would be a fantastic goal, if that's what the stakeholder wants. Because, I mean, not everyone has a purpose for a website. I hope they do, because there's also the climate and economic footprint of creating a website. However, if they do, I really like ed tech and education, because you always have to learn something new. Anywho, when the web meets this goal, it is accessible to people with a diverse range of hearing, movement, sight, and cognitive abilities. Thus, the impact of disabilities is radically changed on the web, because the web removes barriers to communication and interactions that many people face in the physical world. However, when websites, applications, technology, or tools are badly designed, they can create barriers that exclude people from using the web. Accessibility is essential for developers and organizations that want to create high quality websites and web tools, and not exclude people from using their products and services. Next section is, which I'm realizing now, I am practicing poor UI. I will have tried to zoom this in. This is also supposed to be a podcast style. I'm not expecting everyone to be able to sit here and actually see what's on the screen. So, what is web accessibility? Web accessibility means that websites, tools, and technology are designed and developed so that people with disabilities can use them. More specifically, people can perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with the web, or they can contribute to the web. Web accessibility encompasses all disabilities that affect access to the web, including auditory, cognitive, neurological, physical, speech, and visual. Web accessibility also benefits people without disabilities. For example, people using mobile phones, smartwatches, smart TVs, and other devices with small screens, different input modes, etc. Older people with changing abilities due to aging. People with temporary disabilities, such as a broken arm or lost glasses. Not broken arm. Definitely can't find my glasses right now. You guys notice I'm not wearing them and I don't have contacts. uh People with situational limitations, such as in bright light or in an environment where they cannot listen to audio. Been there for the audio. And bright sunlight, people don't think about it, but when you have a concussion, something that they tell you not to do is sit there and try to be on your phone for a long time because it's the light. There's a lot of bright light. They're not even talking about blue light exposure, which I think my computer is on where it has less of that information. And they say for a 7-minute video with examples of how accessibility is essential for people with disabilities and useful for everyone in a variety of situations, see. I see a golden retriever. I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared to watch this video. I did not pre-watch the video. We'll see how far we get, but yeah. Doggos are my weakness. I love a good doggo video. Of course, there will be a commercial. Oh, they have a full YouTube channel. I'm subscribing now so I don't forget to later. Oh, this was uploaded 9 years ago. That is a long time. Okay.
Video isn't just about pictures, it's also about sound. Without the audio, you'd have to guess what this film is about. Frustrating, isn't it? Not knowing what's going on. That's the situation for everyone who can't hear. Captions make videos accessible, which is also handy for people who want to watch video in loud environments or where you need to be very, very quiet. Colors with good contrast. There's something about great design that allows it to go practically unnoticed. But it doesn't take much to make things confusing and frustrating. Choosing colors with poor contrast makes navigating, reading, and interacting a real pain. Good design means sufficient contrast between foreground and background colors. That's not just text and images, but links, icons, and buttons. If it's important enough to be seen, then it needs to be clear. And this is essential for people with low contrast sensitivity, which becomes more common as we age. With good colors, websites and applications can be easier to use in more situations, like in different lighting conditions. Voice recognition. Imagine if you could only communicate with your family by writing. Sometimes it's just easier to speak. One of the advances of technology is voice recognition, whether it's searching the web,
19th century architecture,
dictating emails,
Send email to Jack Hardy.
or controlling your navigation app. Many people with physical disabilities rely on voice recognition to use the computer.
Place order.
But for that to happen, websites and apps need to be properly coded.
Go. Cancel.
Voice recognition can help lots of other people with temporary limitations too, like an injured arm.
Place order.
It can also prevent injuries becoming worse, like RSI, repetitive stress injury, or for people simply preferring voice.
Text to speech.
Some people can see the text on the screen. Fortunately, computers can convert text to speech.
It's technology that many people who are blind have been relying on for years. But it's also important for many people with dyslexia, and very useful for people with difficulty reading text, as well as some people who just like to multitask. But for this to work, websites and apps have to be properly coded, which has the added benefit of helping search engines index websites' contents better. Clear layout and design. Poor layout can be very frustrating. And the same applies to the web. Good design involves good layout, and that means a better user experience. This includes clear headings, navigation bars, and consistent styling. Any web user will get frustrated with bad layout and design. Complex layouts also make finding information difficult or impossible for people with visual disabilities. And they are confusing for people with cognitive and learning disabilities who need clarity and consistency of the presentation. Bad design also impacts anyone who isn't particularly confident around computers. Notifications and feedback. All the right gears can be put in motion. The hands can be at the exact place they need to be. But if you don't get the response that you're expecting, you'll end up wondering if there's some sort of problem. It's the same on the web. Without clear notifications and feedback, people are quickly disoriented and confused. Especially error messages, which are often complex and confusing. Yet making them understandable is usually quite simple. Making websites and apps predictable and understandable makes them accessible to people with cognitive and learning disabilities. And more usable for everyone, especially for people with lower computer skills. Large links, buttons and controls. Trying to hit a small target requires lots of effort. Many websites and applications try to thread the needle. But on the web, we can make areas for clicking and tapping larger and easier to use. Which is handy on mobile devices, especially when we might be moving around at the time. Which is critical for people with reduced dexterity.
Customizable text. What's right for you doesn't necessarily work for the next person. Customization isn't always just a question of preference, though. Sometimes it's a necessity. Being able to adjust the text is crucial for people with low vision and dyslexia. Properly coded websites and applications allow the text to be customized. For example, to change its size, spacing, font, and colors without loss of functions or clarity. Understandable content. Instead of saying, to postulate a conceit more irksome than being addressed in sesquipedalian syntax is adamantine, it is better to say, being spoken to in unnecessarily long and complicated language is a pain.
Okay, that one, after having a long work day, that felt like an assault on vocabulary. And I agree with that point. I agree with all the points so far in the video. FYI, I just needed to pause for that one.
Yet many websites lack structuring, using headings, lists, and separation. Or they use overly complex language, jargon, and unexplained acronyms. It makes them difficult and unappealing to use for many people, including non-native speakers, and makes them unusable for people with cognitive and learning disabilities.
Keyboard compatibility. Not being able to use your computer because your mouse doesn't work is frustrating. Many people use only the keyboard to navigate websites, either through preference or circumstance. Whether it's temporarily limited mobility, a permanent physical disability, or simply a broken mouse, the result is the same. Websites and apps need to be operable by keyboard. Web accessibility. Essential for some, useful for all. Visit w3.org/WAI/perspectives.
Why pay over $2,000 to...
We're not paying over $2,000. But yeah, there's 10 different examples of topics. I also want to look and see what else they have available. It looks like, oh, they did recently have more speaks and or talks and everything else. It looks like recently. Some of the stuff is about a year old, However, this is still good to see because I think so many times people's stories are pushed into the background that others forget, like, oh, there is someone else that's using this site, and they get all mixed up in the artistic information. But if something is in black and gray and someone has a contrast issue, you're not going to be able to see what's on their screen. And it just dives into the whole thing. There are several points made throughout the video. I mean, growing up with someone who was a family member that had issues with being able to see, I was introduced early on to text to speech technology, and it's come leaps and bounds from the early 2000s and having to sit there and listen to a monotone voice. So I'm very happy to see that. I'm very sad to see things though, such as Speechify, where now they're making, I get it, it's a whole capital thing as well, where they need the money to develop the software to make it better. I get that point. I just don't think it should be limited. And like they showed on there, I mean, I heard about text to speech early on. I do have another live stream that I do on my other channel, Ashley Unravels. That's strictly for hobby stuff. So that's where you're going to find me gaming. Right now I'm crocheting a star blanket. Well, sorry, a star cardigan and a temperature blanket. So, and that actually happens tonight at 10 p.m. if anyone wants to tune in on Ashley Unravels. But on there, when I'm doing chat, instead of it being, oh, well, I can't hear anybody, I have it speech to text. So it talks at me and it feels more conversational during those live streams. So I'm able to assist them. It's the same with anything in a video format, having the option to hear it aloud because I have the privilege of having pretty good hearing. I know not everyone was born with hearing, and also too, that's why it's very important to me to have things like the subtitles that right now, if you click on YouTube, you should be able to see the closed captioning. If you cannot, please let me know in the comments section. And also, after the fact, I use closed captions. That's how I was able to create a summary of the information using the transcripts. So, yeah. And we'll go ahead and move forward with this. But yeah, like they said, it's not just it's to allow people to use your website at a basic level, but also it can elevate how productive you are in your life. And let's see. More info on what is accessibility. When you want to learn more about how different disabilities affect web use and read about scenarios of people with disabilities using the web, see how people with disabilities use the web, I think I will do that, but not on this stream. I want to have representatives so that my audience, as well as the businesses I partner with, will be able to have solid examples, because unless you have someone in your life that has something that doesn't allow them the equal access that you have, it's hard to remember that they exist. It's not an excuse. The world is diverse and we all need to acknowledge each other. But at the same time, I do understand, so I would want to bring that up. Like I said, though, for now, 3 minutes left. We're not going to get to that tonight. And then they have more multimedia uses of used by people with and without disabilities. Basically, it sounds like they're routing us to their YouTube channel. So accessibility is important for individuals, businesses, and society. Do I think I can get through this paragraph in 3 minutes? Oh, yeah. The web is an increasingly important resource in many aspects of life: education, employment, government, commerce, healthcare, recreation, and more. It is essential that the web be accessible in order to provide equal access and equal opportunities to people with diverse abilities. Access to information and communication technologies include the web, is defined as a basic human right in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and they have a link to that specific convention. The web offers the possibility of unprecedented access to information and interactions for people with disabilities. That is, the accessibility barriers to print, audio, and visual media can be much more easily confirmed through web technologies. Accessibility supports social inclusion for people with disabilities as well as others, such as older people, people in rural areas, and people in developing countries. There is also a strong business case for accessibility. As shown in the previous section, accessible design improves overall user experiences and satisfaction. I will say those websites are from 9 years ago. However, some of the same issues still occur today. It's just a different set of colors to it, or a different size, because there is certain jurisdictions about button sizes and this and that and the other. And if a designer is designing a website for you, they're going to know those guidelines, or they're able to access it because they know where to find it. But if you look at their past work and you say, hey, I can't navigate the website of the portfolio of the freelancer that you want to see, first check and see if you're looking on Fiverr or Upwork for the freelancer. If you're doing that, it's not necessarily their fault. Those websites UIs, aka their interfaces, and an interface is basically the website that you work with, are not necessarily built by designers or by developers for them. It's more of a business trying to get people other businesses. And a lot of times it's similar to Etsy marketplaces with crafters. You have some people that are drop shippers. You have some people that are actually sitting there making their own custom made pottery at their studio. Same principle. It's just one place where you can find multiple people. I do know there's places like Contra that are doing a little bit better. I still would say that their website is kind of hard to work through, in my opinion. And there's a whole different conversation to be had about creating case studies. However, we are at 9:31 p.m. EST. So that is the end of our stream tonight, and I was able to get through it because I was about to go on another tangent. But that's okay. We are always have next Monday where we can continue this talk. And for now, I hope everyone is safe and stays warm. And have a great night. Bye.